Hey guys, it's your favorite tattooed vegan.
And it's Jonica.
Welcome back to Roots Like a Tree. Thanks for checking out this video here on our YouTube channel. You guys, this is going to be part 2 of our previous discussion on Christianity and social media and all that fun stuff. Now, if you don't know already, if you haven't seen our previous videos, Jonica and I are Christians. We are of the Christian faith, we believe in God, all that fun stuff. Recently, however, someone was making assumptions about Jonica and myself, but more so Jonica and her faith and where she places God in her relationship in terms of importance and all that crazy stuff. Now, this person that was judging her was also a Christian, surprisingly. Well, kind of surprisingly. So that's what we were talking about in our first video. Again, this is a part 2 of a discussion. So in our first part of our first video, we were talking about, you know, how this person was just judging her, making assumptions on her, and it was for really silly little things. Now, just to kind of recap, Jonica, when she first became a Christian about 10 years ago, you know, she was on fire, she was excited about her new beliefs and her faith in God and her love for God and her new church. And so on social media, she just decides to share her excitement by sharing pictures of her Bible or herself reading the Bible, sharing scripture verses from the Bible, and all that stuff that you see a lot of Christians do online. It's kind of become, I don't know, Redundant? Yeah, you see a lot of it. And unfortunately, a lot of the scripture verses that Christians tend to share on social media are out of context, and they're just used to make people feel good, give you the warm fuzzies and everything else. So it's kind of frustrating when you see scripture verses used out of context, completely out of context, just in order to make people feel good. It's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, unfortunately, Jonica, and I've done this myself, fell into that category where she was just sharing things, she was excited about her faith and everything, but then when she realized what she was doing and how, especially using scripture out of context, could do more harm than good, she kind of took a step back. Not taking a step back from her faith and not taking a step back from God, but just kind of re-evaluating her choices on social media in regard to sharing faith-related posts or sharing scripture verses and stuff like that. She was wanting to take a step back and try to really think about, okay, why am I sharing this? Is this going to actually help someone? Is this in context? Is this out of context? Do I really need to share this? And you know, as Christians, just because you are a Christian and you have a social media account of some type, whether it be Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, doesn't mean that every single one of your posts or the things you share have to be Christ-centered or about Jesus or about religion or about your faith. We're human beings. We do other things than talk about Jesus. Let's just be honest, okay? So when she slowly started to stop posting as much in regard to her faith or showing pictures of her Bible, people started chewing her out. People started assuming that she was losing her faith. She's no longer Christian. She doesn't put God first in her life. You know, it wasn't like she was, you know, exchanging Christian related social media posts for satanic related posts. You know, she was just sharing her everyday stuff, whether it be another book she's reading. Here's a photo of our cat. Here's a vegan meal that I ate. I mean, she was doing what everybody does on social media. Yeah, music. You know, she was doing what everybody on social media does. She was posting whatever she wanted. There was just normal things. So this one in particular person really was just started to dog on her about this and was showing deep concerns about her faith and everything. Now, in the previous video also, Jonica briefly mentioned, and I kind of wanted to touch more on this because I don't think it was touched on enough. She kind of mentioned that when she first became a Christian, that her non-Christian friends and or co-workers were kind of acting differently around her. Now, she didn't really, you know, talk about what that meant, and so I feel like that needs to be touched on a little bit more. Now, when you say your non-Christian friends were acting differently around you, that was because they didn't want to upset you now that you're a Christian? And was it because they just felt like, oh, well, she's a Christian now, she's pure, she's holy, she can't be around things that aren't of God or aren't religious, so they were just kind of holding back and just tiptoeing around you, correct?
Yes. I have one friend, and I love her. I still talk to her. She's very open to talk about religion or talk about God, and she has told me the one thing that's holding her back is the fact that she's not like me. And I asked her, what do you mean? And she said, I'm not a saint. And I told her, you don't need to be a saint and you don't need to be perfect to even just look into Jesus or look into the Christian faith. So unfortunately, her and other people kind of just stopped being themselves in a very, I don't know, it was just very sad to see.
So they were just really trying to watch themselves, watch what they say, watch what they do around you, out of fear that you, as a new Christian, might judge them.
Yes.
Okay, and then when it came to them, the non-Christians, potentially attending church, they refused to, or they had doubts about it because they weren't a saint or they weren't 100% perfect.
Right.
Now I think a lot of non-Christians have that image of Christianity or of just attending a church in general. They feel like they have to be perfect or have to be a certain way, or they have to live a life that doesn't include, drinking or cursing or smoking or whatever it may be in order to attend a church. And that's really unfortunate because I feel like Christians have brought that image on themselves.
Yes.
I feel like Christians, by judging others constantly and nitpicking, and even judging other Christians and nitpicking other Christians and the things they do or don't do or say or don't say, they've given this image that you have to be a certain way in order to attend church.
Right.
You have to be a certain way in order to be loved by God, to be accepted by God, or even to be accepted by other Christians. And that's really sad because, as you saw firsthand, non-Christians will then kind of avoid you.
Yes.
And
that's the opposite of what I wanted. I wanted to deepen my relationships with non-Christians and have it be in a spiritual way.
Right. As Christians, we're not supposed to deter non-Christians away from us.
Right.
We're supposed to draw them. We're supposed to be relatable. We're supposed to, not relatable in a sinful way. We as Christians shouldn't necessarily be into every single thing non-Christians are into and live a full-on non-Christian life while claiming to be Christian. But we, at the same time, still need to be approachable.
Yes.
And non-Christians still need to be able to feel comfortable coming up to us and being around us and even attending a church. If people don't feel secure and comfortable with attending a church, that's bad.
Yes, it is.
That's really bad. Because, see, churches aren't supposed to be filled with Christians.
Yes.
Churches are supposed to be filled with sinners and non-believers. I mean, this is a place for everyone.
It should be a place for everyone.
If your church is filled with only Christians, then there's a problem. It's crazy. And then to think back on how Christianity even started. Okay, Christianity is a man-made religion. Okay, essentially created by rebels, people that were rebellious,
yes,
people that
they were.
They were seen as rebels by the public. And so it's just funny to me and really ironic.
Oh yes.
Christianity today is synonymous with being conservative. When back in the day it was all about not necessarily intentionally rebelling, but it was created by people that were going against the flow.
It was against the law, essentially, for Christians to worship or have worship services or even talk about God. It was against the law back then that they couldn't do this.
Right. And so nowadays, people or Christians, they're all super conservative and they're all about the rules. They're about the rules of Christianity, and those are the ones that are doing the judging.
Yes.
The Christians that are about the rules of Christianity and not about the reason for Christianity are the ones that are judging other Christians and other non-Christians.
Yeah.
They're too focused on the rules and what you can and can't do as a Christian or even as a non-Christian, and not focused on the reason for them to be Christian or who they're following or why they became Christian in the first place.
It's dangerous. It becomes legalistic.
Yes, it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. Because then obviously this one in particular Christian is seeing the things you do or don't do, or the things you post or don't post on social media.
Oh boy.
And they're judging you. They're making these assumptions. Well, Christians wouldn't post that. Christians wouldn't, talk about that on social media. I'm really concerned for you now. You're listening to secular music? I'm really concerned for your soul.
Gracious.
And so that's the frustrating thing. That's really frustrating. That Christians today are more so focused on the rules instead of the reason, and those are the ones that are judging, and those are the ones that are making these assumptions and calling other Christians out on their faith, which is a personal matter.
Yes.
Faith is a personal matter, And then for this person to specifically say that they feel like God is no longer number one in your life. Now, for this person to say that when they haven't seen you in years, in person, physically, That's just absurd. It's absurd because they're only basing their assumptions and judgment based on what they see on social media.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's not like you're posting really bad, questionable things, you know, that completely go against the Bible, completely go against your beliefs. You know, you're just not posting what they want you to post.
I'm not posting what they're used to seeing from me 10 years ago.
Right. They're still wanting to see the Jonica from 10 years ago that's a new Christian and that only wanted to talk about Jesus or Christian posts. Now again, as we mentioned in the previous video, Facebook is really good at hiding who you really are or showing only what you want people to see of you. You know, so now Jonica, I'm not saying she was trying to pretend to be someone else, but at that time when she was a new Christian and she was sharing all these Jesus posts and Bible posts and Christianity based posts on social media, she was really just showing that because in the moment she was excited about that. While she was kind of holding back with sharing other things that was going on in her life, be it good or bad. You know, it's not like she was, you know, going through an extremely hard time in her life, or you know, this was happening or that was happening. It was just she was mostly just focusing on sharing the good, fluffy stuff. You know, until she just took a step back and said, well, why not share the other aspects of my life? You know, because Facebook, you're only showing what you want people to see. And then they make the assumption that that's who you are all the time.
Yes.
You know, so people at church, when you were a new Christian, saw you singing, they saw you involved, they saw you in Bible studies, and so that's all they saw because you were just at church with them. They only saw you at church. So that's all they saw. They didn't come home with you. They didn't, you know, pay your bills. They didn't, you know, do this or do that, you know. I mean, so it was just...
And they did make assumptions then about me, and they weren't bad.
Sorry guys, I think we cut out. We are losing space on our memory card and our battery and all that kind of fun stuff. But as Jonica was saying, you know, it was just people were making assumptions about her even while she was attending church and everything else. And that's really frustrating, you guys. This is not good. This is not good for Christianity. It's not good for the image. It's not even good for non-believers. For non-believers to see that other Christians are judging and making assumptions on other Christians just because they do things differently or live a different, slightly different life that they may not agree with, or you know, I mean, essentially this all started because of what Jonica's not posting on social media. That's absurd. That's so crazy, you guys. I mean, that we've come to this point is absurd. We've come to this point where Christians are judging and making assumptions about other Christians based on what they don't post on social media. Just because you're Christian doesn't mean you have to always share about God on social media all the time. You can be a regular, everyday human being as well and share what you're eating, share photos of your pets. You know, I mean, it's absurd. And this is crazy. It's crazy what Christianity has become. You know, it's so crazy. It's become very judgmental. It's become all about the rules as opposed to the reason, and it's unfortunate because that's what turns people away from either going to church in the first place or going back to church.
Yes.
You know,
that's a whole nother video.
Whole nother video, and you know what? We just might do it some other day.
Yes.
So. All right, you guys. If you like this part 2, or if you like this video in general, and if you can, you know, agree with it or can relate to it, give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below if you completely understand what we're going through or what we're talking about. If you are going through a similar situation, you have our sympathy and our empathy, you guys. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. That way you can check out our other videos that we've uploaded and hit that notification, that little bell icon. That way you can stay up to date with our future uploads as well. This has been Roots Like a Tree. I'm Tattooed Vegan.
And I'm Jonica.
Thanks for watching this video, you guys. Stay judgment free. Don't judge others unless it's the correct way of judging them.
That's another video.
A completely other video. Stay rooted, you guys. We'll see you next time.